guy, better camera. Yeah.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Akron Citizens Police Oversight Board meeting for February the 7th, 2024. We'll begin with our roll call. Gippin.
Present.
Peebles.
Here.
Castle.
Here.
Costa.
Present.
Richards.
Here.
Ms. Reed and Ms. Anaskevich will be absent on tonight. Boyd is here. We still have a quorum. So we'll move into our next item with, like to make a motion to accept the minutes from last meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Next, I'd like to turn it to Ms. Castle and Mr. Casa, who is going to read our purpose and the values of our board. Ms. Castle.
The overarching mission of the Akron Citizens Police Oversight Board is to foster conditions and police practices that ensure the safety of all residents of the city of Akron. The CPOB is empowered by a new city charter provision to independently direct the police auditor, whose office reviews investigations into complaints and misconduct involving officers. The board and auditor also review every standard investigation, whether by the Akron Police Department or outside agencies, into the use of deadly force by an officer. The CPOB has the authority to appoint and provide oversight of the Office of the Independent Police Auditor and reappoint, terminate personnel within the OIPA, approve external and independent oversight and review of policing practices within the city of Akron. Subject to approval of council, the CPOB may adopt rules for providing for the procedures and operations of the board and OIPA, including the scheduling of regular board meetings and for the election of a board chair and vice chair, propose with OIPA an annual operating budget, and issue an annual report to the community of CPOB activities and recommendations made to the mayor and the council.
Thanks, Ms. Castle. For our values, our decisions and actions are motivated by our love for Akron and our desire for all to feel safe in the community. We value unity and voice and action. We respect each other and those we serve. We seek to build a relationship of trust, and we seek to always conduct ourselves with integrity. We listen to understand, learn, and lead. We strive to be inclusive for all stakeholders' voices. We value change at a system level. We hold ourselves accountable for our actions and deeds, and we hold our partners and those we serve to be accountable for their actions and deeds. We will model civility.
Thank you, Mr. Castle and thank you, Mr. Casa and Ms. Castle, for reading our purpose and our values. At this time, we're going to move to item number 4 on our agenda, which is our public comment. That's 30 minutes in total, 3 minutes per person. Are there any public comments on this evening?
I don't believe so, Mr. Chairman. The forms are up on the podium, but no one,
All right.
I think, filled one out.
We'll move on into item number 5 on our agenda, which will be our subcommittee report out. First, we'll be hearing from governance and Mr. Gippin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is not a recommendation of the rules of the governance committee because of the timing, as I will explain. But I would move adoption of the amended rules that were in draft form sent from the law department, dated February 2, 2024, and which I transmitted to the members of the board on Saturday, February 3, 2024. I hope everybody has that copy. The evolution of the document is that it is an amendment of the rules that we adopted in July. It makes 2 major changes. One is that our investigative authority would be limited to review of actions, reports on complaints, uses of force, uses of deadly force, once completed by the department, as opposed to potentially investigating at the same time as the department, as our previous rules provided and which were rejected by the City Council. This makes it only post-fact review. The other major change is that our procedures would need to be approved by the City Council to be effective. Those are the two major changes. There are some other changes which I would really categorize just as improvements in the previous version of the rules. That in some cases were ones that the Governance Committee proposed, others from the Law Department. And Mr. Chairman, I need to say that the cooperation that we have had from the Law Department, in the new administration has been superb. It has been full cooperation, very cordial, and led to this this draft, which was agreed by several of us and the Law Department at a meeting last Friday. So we think it's a very good draft, and the cooperation very much appreciated. It has been transmitted to the Fraternal Order of Police. My understanding is that we've not yet received any response, but our hope is that this form of the rules we think should be satisfactory to them, should not conflict with the collective bargaining agreement. So we're hopeful that they will concur. However, given the urgency of having legally effective rules, I'm moving their adoption tonight in the hopes that we can move forward then promptly to council.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. We'll roll call vote it. Mr. Gippen?
Yes.
Peebles? Yes. Castle?
Yes.
Costa?
Yes.
Richards?
Yes.
Boyd? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only other item well, maybe I should comment. It's possible, as I understand it, that the rules will be presented to council this coming Monday. And I understand that the administration will keep us informed about that and whether we should be available at least for response to questions. Mr. Angeloni.
Yeah, if I may, thank you. So yes, that is a possibility. We will keep the board up to date. We should have more information after tomorrow morning. But I would request that, if possible, one of the board members be available next Monday for committee hearings to be able to speak to the rules in front of City Council. So, but we will keep you informed after tomorrow.
Thanks very much. Mr. Chairman, the only other thing I would bring up is that we had discussion in governance of the both the review of topics, but also somewhat concerning the report under the annual report, which under these rules would be due March 31. Hopefully, we can keep that deadline. If we have to move it somewhat this year, I'm sure the community will understand. But just to clarify, our thinking now, given the timing, is that the report would largely just be what we've done in this year to date. And as to the review topics, if I can call them that, only speak to what we may have done up to that point, because they're all going to just be in process. And we're not going to attempt to include actual recommendations in this report. We can always supplement the report anytime we want, add recommendations whenever they're ready to be made. I'm seeing, I know Ms. Reed has set up a meeting with Captain Wren on the complaint process. I think I had reported even 2 weeks ago that I had met with Captains Wren and Miller. Maybe I didn't, but I had a very good meeting with them. Moving forward, assembling the information in the department on use of force, and can move forward on that hopefully. And I think some of the other teams are also getting active. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any questions or comments for Mr. Gippen or the Governance Subcommittee? If not, I'm going to move on with Mr. Costa.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment that I think this committee's been super active the last month, and so I just appreciate everyone's hands on board. It feels like we've got more done in this last month than we had in our first couple of months of being seated. So I appreciate everybody's flexibility and to jump in and call the action. I think that the rules that we just voted to send to council were a really good collective effort. I don't believe that they're perfect, but I think it's a great step in the right direction, and just appreciate everybody's help.
Thank you, Mr. Costa. Now we're going to Ms. Richards and our HR subcommittee.
I have nothing to report. The events that we are planning for our auditor have been planned and set up by someone outside the HR department, so I will refer to you on that.
Thank you, Ms. Richards. We'll piggyback to, and we'll go to Ms. Castle to give us an update on community engagement and the town hall with our HR candidate, with our auditor candidate.
So we are very excited to welcome Mr. Fennell back to Akron next week. He has a full agenda, so we're going to keep him busy so he can meet lots of wonderful people within the city. But one of the biggest events that we are planning during his visit is a community forum that is scheduled for next Wednesday, the 14th, and that is going to be at Ellett Community Learning Center, and it'll run from 6 p.m. is the start time, and we have it slated until about 7:15, 7:30-ish. Will be the closing time, but we have a lot of great things planned for that. How we're kind of envisioning it is we are going to do a quick overview of the independent police auditor's job description. We are going to introduce Mr. Fennell and allow him to address the community if he chooses to. And then we are also going to have a question and answer session with the community, able to pose questions as well as provide feedback. So we are looking at having both a digital feedback form as well as a paper feedback form. So we are really excited about this event. For board members, I did bombard you guys with lots of different information in regards to this, and we appreciate, we've had wonderful help from Ms. Pitt, who's been helping us navigate this, Deputy Chief Brian Harding, as well as Stephanie Marsh with the communications team. So this has been a collective effort, but today we did send over a draft of the presentation that we are hoping to provide that evening for board members to review. We also sent around a draft of the community feedback form, as we want to be inclusive of that feedback from that event. And then the run-a-show was also provided. So I just wanted to open it up for feedback and also discussion regarding the event.
Yeah, this has just all been terrific, and again, great cooperation from the administration. The only thing I loved, the one, I'm not sure exactly which document, but it included the bio for Mr. Fennell. The only suggestion I would make is to include his NACOL presidency.
Yes, thank you so much for bringing that about. The other thing is we wanted to get this information regarding the event out ASAP, so we did have a draft of the press release that was shared that we are hoping to send that to media as well as our notification list, hopefully right after this meeting today. But I will definitely look at making that revision.
Ms. Castle, is there a time that you would like our feedback regarding the feedback form or any of the slide deck?
If we could have that by, I would say, Friday at 4 p.m., that would be great. I want to be sure that we get it over to everybody who's going to be supporting the event. So if possible, if we could do Friday before, by 4 o'clock, and if that's an issue for anybody, just reach out and I can be flexible with it. But ideally, I'd love to get it over to whoever's going to be supporting technology and such, as well as get the paper copies of everything. The other component we're still working through is we are hoping to live stream the event. So we are looking to see if we have the capabilities. We had looked at other venues for the community forum, but it is Ash Wednesday, it's Valentine's Day, and a lot of our schools are already reserved. So Ellett CLC was the one that could accommodate our needs best. So that's why we chose that location for the event. It has been confirmed as of now, if we do not have live stream capabilities, 330 To Go is willing to potentially live stream it as well. So we can make sure that there is some sort of live stream to direct people who are unable to attend.
So I would like, if we could, I believe everybody got a copy of the run of the event. If we could all just pull that out and take a look at it. I know that we're going to be missing some board members on that evening. I believe it's probably going to be maybe 3 or 4. So we're going to have to fill in some blanks. I think it's going to be very important that we have a team there ready to go. possibly at 5 o'clock, ready to welcome people as they come in. I know I can be there at that time to help welcome people in the door. Mr. Costa, he's going to be our moderator for the evening, so very excited about that. There's other things that are going on here as far as, I don't know if we need to have necessarily a panel on stage. I think Mr. Costa and Mr. Fennell is enough, but I'm free to, let's talk about that to see what we think as a board.
I mean, I guess it just depends on the engagement. It might be a little awkward if people are just sitting on the board, on the stage and not doing anything, but if there's like, I'd imagine that as community questions roll in, perhaps from the audience, there's gonna probably need to be some type of runner. And then there'll probably be some type of overlap with questions that may be being posed from various places. So if we've got some type of mechanism to condense questions down, consolidate, so we can effectively address as many points of concern that are being raised, then I think that would be pretty helpful.
Anyone else, any thoughts? Just about the whole sheet. It's pretty concise, pretty straight to the point. There's a couple of blanks we have to fill in regarding at 6:15, who kind of gives that overview. I know Ms. Richards is not going to be there, but Ms. Richards, if you could equip us maybe with maybe a short narrative of how that kind of came about based on what we want to introduce, the hiring and how we. So whether that be myself or Mr. Gippen steps into that role to speak
Well,
to.
can I suggest that we sort of minimize the number of people who are on stage? I mean, honestly, it seems to me that the two of you, you know, have clear roles, but for the rest of us, I mean, we're going to need runners and just folks to do
Yeah.
things. I mean, and I'll do whatever anybody needs me to do, but you know, so I would think that maybe it's you, Mr. Costa, that you would do that intro of the process and all that, but kind of minimize the number of people speaking from the board.
And we'll
Or you, Mr.
Yeah.
Camp, but, yeah.
Yeah.
Or Mr. Boyd. I don't know, that's just my thought is keep it to a minimum on the stage, and then you're gonna need all the board running help you can get, just.
Yeah, and right now, it's probably gonna be 1, 2, 3,
Right.
4.
Well, and you two are gonna be on the
Yeah.
stage, so.
Yep,
Okay.
all right. Any other thoughts or questions about the runner show? Thing that needs to be changed or adjusted?
Do we have a sense of that auditorium's layout?
So-
And
It is going to be very similar to the Garfield layout for the police chief town hall. So it is a newer building with newer technology and such, so it's going to be pretty comparable.
okay.
The only other suggestion I was going to make looking at the run a show, so with our QR code for the digital copy, we were hoping to have that presented near the end and not open up with it, just because we wanted the opportunity to address questions and Mr. Fennell to introduce himself. So where we see QR code on the projector at 5:30, I would suggest that we move that closer towards the end after Mr. Fennell has his introduction. We explain the process so that we get that feedback based upon that information, would be my suggestion.
Anyone else? Okay, so if we could all review the slide deck, also the community feedback form, and get whatever changes we believe needs to happen to Ms. Castle by 4 on Friday, that would be appreciated.
And then with that revision, are we okay with us moving forward with that press release this evening? So that we can get that out to the community and get that noticed?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you.
All
For what
right.
it's worth, I really like the drafts, but, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to do that.
Absolutely.
Seriously.
All right, thank you, Ms. Castle. Move on to our complaints review subcommittee and Mr. Peoples.
We reviewed 17 complaints that were signed 2 weeks ago. Out of the 17 complaints, 13 were closed, no further action taken, and 4 were left open to be referred to our auditor, who can go back into those and do what he needs to do. We're going to be assigning 24 new complaints. Since we started doing this, we have reviewed a total of 79 complaints. I think we're all doing a pretty good job of doing that. It's a lot of work, but we're doing a real good job of it. We're trying to concentrate more on the use of force complaints now. We did do some in the past, but this next batch that we're going to hit is going to be mostly use of force. We want to try to make a dent into that.
Are you all seeing any themes emerge with respect as you all are reviewing some of the complaints, whether that be processing errors, like lack of information, just like themes in general that, I guess, indicate process opportunities for us to, I guess, step in and improve and enhance the process, or just overall in general? I'm just curious, like, whether or not there's any kind of common themes emerging as you all are sorting through some of the complaints.
Short answer would be no. Longer answer, the use of force reports that we've tended to keep open have involved taser use, where I think there are some questions concerning the standards for evaluating whether taser use was appropriate, that it just is not clear from the reports. I think there are other ones involved where, if there's any pattern, there have been some more complaints than use of force where it appeared there were genuine issues of fact, to use a legal term, between what the complainant was saying, and it seemed we were only seeing writing, okay, but from what was written, that there was enough potential credibility to what the complainant was saying, but that it appears that every time that is just denied or put at issue by the officer, the officer's word is what's being taken. So objective or neutral credibility assessments in those situations don't seem to be, they're not being made, and we've left those open as well. But other than that, no, I don't, from my point of view, I wouldn't say there's any pattern. No. Mr. Peoples?
No. Everything's been pretty straightforward.
I appreciate that insight, and I know that the sense of objectivity from the decision standpoint and disposition standpoint continues to be something that we were concerned about from the get-go. I just want to, I guess, circle back our attention to the process. Earlier this week, or maybe it was last week, I was on my phone and I just pulled up the complaint making process, and it still doesn't seem that our complaint forms, like from a mobile device, are able to be made in a fillable PDF. And I just think that that's going to continue to be a barrier with respect to us being able to be accessible to people. So I think that we've got to, as we get through this next month and get through the process of our hiring of our auditor finalists potentially, that we've got to circle back to making our complaint form more accessible. Just because I feel like it's so easy for a person to get on their phone, want to make a complaint, but then they're not able to actually do it, and then they ultimately give up. And I would hate for us to be, I feel like we're doing a disservice if we're not meeting people where they're at. So just wanted to bring that back to the board's attention.
Ms. Castle, can that be a conversation with Ms. Marsh, Stephanie Marsh, regarding our webpage and how does it look from a PDF perspective?
Yeah, I think it's just us going in and being able to enter those
Okay.
fields on it. So I think it's something that we could manipulate, and then Shannon has access to upload things to our webpage. Is that still correct, Shannon?
I do, but we do not. The form comes from the police department. We don't have control over it.
But we could upload it into Adobe and we could put the boxes and then upload. It's something we can definitely
It's
explore,
not
but
one of our forms, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we wouldn't be adjusting the form. We would just make it so it has editable, like they could go in and type where right now they're unable to. So we could definitely, we can explore what that would look like.
So it's like inserting a text box through like an Adobe workshop. All right, it's the good old fashioned way.
Any other comments for Mr. Peoples or the Review Complaint Committee?
Thanks for your close eye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peoples, and your leadership there. Before we move on to item number 6, I do want to make just a couple of comments, and they've all been mentioned. I just kind of want to put a bow around everything on this evening. I'm extremely proud of our board. I know it's been a challenge since April. We've hit many different barriers and obstacles. What I'm most proud of is that everybody here has like full-time employment, job, spouses, children, and we all show up. You know, for a while it was every week, and now it's bi-weekly. And the amount of phone calls that when we're outside of these chambers, they don't stop, they still come. And I appreciate every single one of you for the work that you're doing on these committees, but also in fielding some of the calls. I don't think that we're at the point where we're at without every single person around these chairs. And I know that it's been challenging, I know it's been tough, and we've had, if you will, our spirited debates. However, at the same time, I think that each and every one of us take what we're doing very, very seriously. And the reason how I know that is because of those spirited debates. You don't have spirited debates with people that are not passionate about what they're doing. And so I think that's important for me to say to you all as chair, but also for us to say to the public. We take this responsibility very seriously. And I'm thankful to go back to what Mr. Costa was saying, that, man, the amount of work that we've been able to do over these past 2 or 3 weeks as a collective has been really great. I think even more inspiring to me is what we were saying maybe a long time ago about being able to work collaboratively. First of all, collaboration starts with this board. We have to be able to work collaboratively with one another, right? And then externally, we've been able to work really collaboratively with our Akron Police Department. We've been able to work really collaboratively with the city of Akron, new administration, Chief of Strategy, Miss Pitt. You've been great to work with. And so we thank you for that, for your input, but also for helping to kind of bring some things together. But also, Mr. Gippen had mentioned it about the law department. Thank you, Ms. Metz, just for your leadership in this. And this is a collective effort. I know everybody says, hey, man, we're an independent board. We are. But it's independence, but it's still working within a collective, right? We're independent to, if you will, come up with our rules and how we want to meet and some of the things that we want to do. But, man, we're still an integral part of this city and this structure of this city and the community. So I just want to extend a really tremendous amount of appreciation to our board members. I'm excited about next week. I'm excited about bringing Mr. Fennell in for some feedback, but also not just for the community's feedback, but his feedback to us, right? These things go both ways. It's not just one-sided. And so I'm excited about that approach. I appreciate you, Ms. Richards, for helping to lead from the perspective of our HR. I know it was a daunting task, not just with him, but with some of the policy and the procedures for us as a board. Really grateful for Shannon. Shannon was our first hire, so Shannon, you're gonna go down in somewhat history, right? Our first hire necessarily wasn't an auditor, but it was an admin. And so you have helped us as well to get to this point. So everybody has played a role, and I think that's representative of what a strong team looks like and what a strong team is. So very appreciative, and thank you all for your service. And let's continue to keep the ball moving down the field, so to speak. Are there any other questions or comments?
Thank you for your leadership, Mr. Chairman.
Appreciate it.
Can I make an announcement?
Please.
I just wanted to make a quick announcement about an upcoming community event this Saturday. If you don't know, it is currently Join Week for the Akron Urban League's Young Professionals. If you're not familiar with the Akron Urban League, then I don't know what you're doing. But the Akron Urban League's Young Professionals is a group, I believe, aged 21 to 41. That is just all about supporting and uplifting the excellence of our young professionals in the community. We're going to have an amazing event this Saturday, which is entitled We Got Now, State of Akron's Young Professionals, which is largely going to be framed as an advocacy event. Some of our folks from the Freedom Bloc are going to be helping to lead the event, but there's going to be breakout workshops and sessions about the state of local politics here in the city, and would love any individuals who are interested in coming out, especially our young professionals. That's going to be hosted this Saturday, February 10th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. At 652 West Exchange Street. It's the Baird Rustin Center. Again, that's 652 West Exchange Street. Brunch will be provided, and it will be a great time. I will be there.
Thank you, Mr. Costa. I also want to acknowledge, because it is Black History Month, really want to lift up and acknowledge all of our public servants who are African-American. I mean, when you look at in this council, to have Madam President Somerville, but also Veronica Sims, who is our council president of Summit County Council. I think the acknowledgement of
Representatives.
Representatives as of yesterday.
Keep on. Get on there, please. Say it. It deserves to be said.
Veronica Sims was appointed to fill Tavia Golansky's seat, representing I believe it's the 34th district, in our seat here in Akron, Ohio.
Congratulations to Ms. Sims and all those who are serving, and the legacy that they are not only leaving for us, but continue to grow and to build. So I want to acknowledge them right now as we celebrate Black History Month. It is worth celebrating, not just for the month of February, but all year long. So, any other comments before I get a motion? Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consider yourselves dismissed. Thank you so much.